Mark Henry from the On Your Mark Show and On the Mark Sports. We got a brand new show for the 2021 season that's going to spotlight the DFW creators, media guys, scouts, the whole thing, man. This is called the DFW Blueprint. And when I say blueprint, that means that we lay it down on the table for you. We give you some recruiting. We give you some of the players that have been shining coming up to the 2021 season, as well as where we're going each week. We're going to have several guests that will be on this roundtable, on this panel each week. Now, today's guests are two of the top creators of content, media, and everything that it involves in the high school sports realm here in the DFW. I got Brandid Sports, Nick Dubose, and I got Dem Bos, Juwan Davis in the house. Now, we're going to start with Juwan. Just kind of introduce yourself and say hello, and then Nick will introduce you, and then you'll take it away and we'll get started.
Hello, my name is Juwan Davis. I have my own company called Dem Bos. So it's a platform mainly for kids that's not 4 or 5 star recruits. I try my best to show love to a lot of kids who don't get as much love as, the 24/7 sports and all them. Try to give more spotlight on the ones who still do good, but not as 4 and 5 star material to people out there. Yeah, on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook, and also YouTube. Hit me up on Dem Bos.
All right, and my guy Nick Dubose, Brandid. Tell him about it, Nick.
What's going on, man? I'm Nick Dubose, originally from Houston, Texas. What's up, H-Town? Out here in the DFW area. A little bit about myself. I coached college football at Division I, Division II level for 12 years before I got into the media side. But Brandid Sports, we're a platform really for everybody. I created Brandid Sports probably about 2 years ago. And it was kind of along the same vision as all of us, as trying to help the kids out and bring exposure to kids that didn't get it, whether they were from smaller towns or whether they were kids that, didn't get to go to camps or on the recruiting scene, or really, Division II or FCS kids below. A lot of the focus, as it should go to the 4 and 5 stars. But as I like to say, the 4 and 5 stars don't need us, we need them, but it's a whole bunch of more kids without stars that need us too. So that's the platform for that, but also a platform for content creators, people who want to get their stuff out there, who want to get into, whether it's, digital content, whether you're a videographer, a photographer, a writer, anything, anything you can do. We're a platform for everybody to get you out there, because we're basically a marketing and media platform. And so we want to try and spotlight not only on players, but like I said, content creators, organizations, brands, any and everybody. Our motto is your brand did it, my brand did it, now our brand did it. We both branded. So that's a little bit about us.
Well, Nick, you definitely do it, man. And we're going to start off with you. Talk about some of the games that you went to this week. This was week 1 for everybody around the DFW, around the state of Texas. Several big games around. Give us an insight on a couple of games that you saw this week.
Well, I had the pleasure of kicking off Thursday at the Killer Timber Creek and Rockwall Heath game, which it was definitely a shootout. A lot of talent in the building. That Heath offense is loaded. The quarterback, Josh Hoover, he's an Indiana commit. He threw close to 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. You got Jay Fair, the Auburn commit. He had over 100 yards. Him and Jordan Neighbors, both of them over 100 yards, 2 touchdowns. Then you got Zach Evans in that backfield coming back off that knee injury. I tell you what, he's back. He had, broke off some long runs, showed a different gear. And that offense is explosive. He had over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. But Killer Timber Creek, they showed a lot of good things. The quarterback did a good job. Lonnie Johnson, a receiver for him, he had 5 total touchdowns, 2 rushing, 3 receiving. He's a kid that, look out for. Timber Creek wasn't fully powered. They were missing some guys. Mecca, the running back, wasn't there, along with a few other receivers. So they're a team that definitely has some, good offensive power and a good team and team to watch out for. And then Friday, I went to the Battle of the Axe. So the 123rd, it's Battle Axe. If you don't know about it, it's Sherman versus Denison. It's the longest consecutive play rivalry in Texas football history. And so got to kick it off there, which is always a battle. They do a Battle of the Axe. Denison has won 8 straight times. They made it 9 straight this year behind Dane running back Jadarian Price. He had 200 yards in the first half and 2 touchdowns to set the tone. But quarterback for them, Caleb Hebner, senior, he threw for 2 touchdowns, had over 200 yards total offense, in there on the ground. Trey Rhodes, Keegan Pruitt, Dylan Dehaney, they did a good job offensively with them. And then for Sherman, they have a good class and a good team. Phoenix Grant, their quarterback, he stood out for them. Over 200 yards of total offense and touchdown. Caleb Thompson ran another touchdown for him. Vontrell Sanders, a kid that's a dual sports star, just came off the basketball court. Didn't play football last year, but caught a touchdown. And so they definitely have some talent. And Aries Jones is another receiver to look out for. So got a chance to see some good ball this weekend.
Now, before I get to that second game you talked about the Rockwall Heath offense. Last year, they were on the cusp of doing some things. They lost in the playoffs over in Arlington to a good Cedar Hill team on the last play, man. And this offense is back, and Zach Evans wasn't even on the field. We're talking about a team that, a lot of us in the media think that this team could definitely make a state run. Just touch on Heath a little bit more, what you think going forward.
And you really touched on it, man. That offense is special. And with all those guys being seniors, they've been playing together, since they were sophomores. And so those guys know each other. I mean, an offense clicks. Hoover has a great control of the offense, and they have great balance. They can beat you running the ball. They can beat you throwing the ball. And the deal is they have explosive plays, He was hitting the post route to Neighbors and Fair. Like I said, Evans broke off some runs. They had another, couple running backs and things like that to break off some runs. So they have explosive offense, defense. They had a couple guys that were flying around. It's early on in the season, so got to get some things taken care of on the defense end, but they definitely have an offense that is definitely prolific and could make a run for a state championship.
I see those guys being right probably in the last Final Four if everything goes right. The injuries and things like that, the Heath is definitely on the radar. They made some noise last year with some big time playoff running, and I see those guys definitely being one of the last 4 teams if everything goes right. Now Sherman Denison, you talk about it being a long time rivalry. What was the fan interaction like? What was the atmosphere like? Because both of those, if you've ever been to a game in either one of those stadiums, it's very intricate. It's got that old school football feel.
Yeah, man. I mean, they've been talking about this for months. Both schools have new coaches. So Cody Kane came from Allen, was the defensive coordinator there. He's now head coach at Sherman High School. And then you have Brent Whitson, who came from South Grand Prairie, the head coach at Denison. So, it was a little, everybody didn't know exactly what to expect with having 2 new staffs. But the environment and the competitiveness is, goes beyond the stadium. Trust me, they talk about it year round, and it's the biggest thing around. I mean, you swear it's the Super Bowl. The season could, no matter if you go to the playoffs or whatever else, around here it counts. Did you win the Battle of the Axe? And so Denison has a great senior-led football team, the quarterbacks, their receivers, of course, like I said, Price, the running back. On defense, Jalik Lewis, who's an ACU commit, Will Wallace, the linebacker. They got a lot of different guys on that defensive side of the football that made a lot of plays. And so they're a team to definitely watch out for. Anytime you got a senior-led team, that goes a long way. And guys that have been on varsity playing together for 3 years, it really goes a long way.
And it's rich in talent as well. You mentioned that the legacy and the camaraderie and just the overall feel of that rivalry, man. That's something that you can't touch, and that's the reason Texas high school football is second to none.
And what's something that's so crazy, now 7-on-7 is a big deal. A lot of those guys, all those guys are named, they played on the C4 7-on-7 team. So they train together year round. When they're not competing on the battle axe, they're teammates. And so that even brings a little bit more competitive battle rights to it. Because they don't want to be working out year round talking about, hey, we beat you. So they just got the bragging rights again. But it's definitely a thing in this community, and it's great. Great history for Texas high school football.
Shout out to my guy, Coach Sean Cooper up there, Seaport Performance up there in Durant, Oklahoma, man. He does a bang up job, and he's at the forefront when it comes to getting those kids the proper training, mentorship, and as well as the exposure, man. Shout out to Coach Coop, one of my guys up there that way. And then we'll come back to you. We're going to talk to Juwan, and we'll get your two guys that in 2021 that you want everybody to know about. Come on in, Juwan. Let's talk about where you were at this week.
Yeah, man. I went to Prairie Friday with the team. Lancaster played on Port Arthur Memorial. It was a pretty interesting matchup coming into the season, knowing last year they could have played last year, but COVID canceled the matchup, so they played this year. And starting off, Port Arthur quarterback Jameer Sanders, he was pretty hard to stop. He has 4.3 speed, track speed. He's a playmaker who knows how to make plays that weren't supposed to be there. He's pretty physical quarterback. And the defense for Lancaster did made a lot of major stops to where it could have been a little worse of the score, but they played their butts off to make stops. Like, you got a guy named Marquise, number 7. He's the playmaker. He always in the backfield every snap almost. You got Big Gort, the lineman, 2022 kid. He's pretty strong. We got Noah, 23, who played pretty good as well. John Marcus Piper didn't play, but he also got to know on defense for Lancaster. Coach Muhammad is the coach for the Lancaster defense. He came from Duncanville, but Coach Paul, who's the head coach, he changed the whole defense, made them way tougher. Then I think compared to last year's team, it's way more competitive on defense in Lancaster this year. And then you got Glenn Rice, the quarterback. You got the running back who didn't play. His name is Tyson Brown. We call him Simp. He definitely got to know this year. He's a beast. Like, he showed out during the scrimmage against Lamar. Ever since then, he's been on everybody's radar. His name is Simp. He's pretty powerful. He's 2023. So he'll be back again next year after we come back on Friday, Monday. And then on Saturday, I went to Longview versus Den Ryan. My hometown Longview, they got beat by Den Ryan boys, 40-7. And Den Ryan was definitely stronger than Longview and bigger on both sides of the ball. They look stronger this year than last year's team for Den Ryan. So they were pretty interesting. The Longview got the quarterback from Longview still came back this year, Jordan Allen, who ran the first touchdown, the only touchdown yesterday. I think it was 43-yard touchdown, the first possession for Longview. But then Ryan shut him down, of course, rest of the game. Well, they couldn't do that much. You got people like Anthony Hill, who ran the ball and played linebacker yesterday, who looked pretty impressive. Then quarterback K5, Kellen Davis, he actually did pretty good. Like, everybody didn't know what to expect. He's the first year starting, but he actually did pretty good with them. A pick 6 by Jalen Robinson for like 60-some yards, 69 yards. He did pretty good. So. Mm-hmm. The running back Caleb Hicks, number 2, he was a monster. Nobody could stop him. He ran like 3 touchdowns. He could not be stopped. So Den Ryan is my favorite for 5A Division I right now, as far as teams. And it's gonna be crazy.
Now, before we go to Longview and Den Ryan, I want to touch back on Lancaster. Coach Paul new coaching staff. You mentioned Coach Muhammad. You've been around that program, starting in the summer. Those guys kind of got a late start, with Coach G leaving, going to Texas. So how's that coaching staff? You mentioned the defense and how more aggressive they are, and they're playing a lot faster. How's that coaching staff meshed everybody together in a short period of time? And I think Lancaster is going to be, definitely a playoff team. It really is more about the district that they're in. It's not as competitive. Some people will talk about, I believe if they get everything together, they got some big games coming up. A big one this week with Skyline. We'll talk about that a little bit. But I think still that, that they're a team to beat coming out of that part of Dallas.
Right. So, the coaches, they pretty much came in and gave the boys pretty much a lot of mental toughness. Like the mindset of the kids this year is different. Coming from coaches who came from Duncanville, used to winning and being that top dog in Texas. Muhammad and Coach Paul definitely changed the environment of the mindset there. A lot of boys take football a lot more serious, knowing that these are top guys who came from Duncanville, who want the program to be just as great or better. With them being there, like everybody mindset is just way better than, to me, last year mindset. A lot of boys are bigger than last year. The weight room program has been amazing at Lancaster this year so far over the summer. And now I just feel like they're taking it more serious, knowing that they just have those Duncanville coaches under their belt.
Well, it's definitely on display. I've seen a lot of, the stuff that you put together for those guys. They're getting a lot more attention, a lot more eyes on them than they've had in the past. And the last question about Lancaster is Glenn Rice Jr. He had a record-setting year last year. Is one of the catalysts, and I think that, they're going to go as far as Glenn takes them. I think he's on the verge of having a all area type season, maybe honor mention All-State type season with the numbers he'll be able to put up. And his leadership is definitely on display over there. Let's touch on Glenn Rice just a little bit.
Glenn Rice is the quarterback, where y'all already know he's going to take care of business. Last year he broke the school record last year for most yards in the season. This year, this past Friday, he didn't get really to do as much as he used to just yet. Because, Port Arthur was a little more stronger than us, in my opinion, for our offense. But I do feel like this will be the year that Glenn Rice has the opportunity to break the record again, or at least compete with his own record again. He's definitely a playmaker when it comes to making plays, running the ball, throwing the ball. He has an arm on him. He also knows how to bounce around the field to make first downs, touchdowns. I'm excited to see what Glenn Rice do this year. I think he'll be more aggressive than he was last year as far as holding the team together to go all the way to championship.
I think they're definitely a championship pedigree team, and I definitely will make my way over there to check on them guys and get to a couple of games. Now, the big game that yourself and myself were at Saturday was the Jerry Jones Classic. When we touched on that, we know that you kind of got your feet wet and got everything. That's where I first came in contact with you, was the state run that Longview made a couple of years ago with Haynes King, who was recently named, congrats to him, to the starter at Texas A&M. I'm sure he's pretty excited about that. But, I agree with you on what you said. It's just that a lot of these guys from Ryan came back from last year. I think they're ready to make another run. They've been great. That program's been great. I had a chance to cover a lot of the Spencer Sanders-led teams, and Gabe Douglas and those guys, Amani Bailey and those guys, back with Billy Bowman and Jatavian Sanders were freshmen. I saw them physically, you know what I'm saying? And so I knew that they were going to be good for a while. But yesterday was just a tale of three quarters, really. One quarter, it was kind of close, but the last three, Ryan just ran roughshod over those guys. It was a physical contest. I mean, they were bringing the hat. They were flying all over the field. These guys knew that, hey, this is what we're going to do. They came with a purpose. They came to set the tone, to make a statement, in which they did to everybody around the state that they're here to be here for the long run, and they're ready to make a state run. You talked about Caleb Hicks. He had 139 yards and 3 touchdowns. Quick, agile. He hit the B button, on PlayStation if you're playing Madden several times and left him. He left him in the dust. But I will say this about Longview. I think that they're going to be just fine. I think this might be a prelude to something in their line, later down the line in the playoffs. I was impressed with the quarterback's play. Hale, the big-time fourth-star wide receiver, is definitely, a man to be reckoned with. He didn't get a chance to flex his muscles like he normally does, probably because they came in defensively and they wanted to make sure that they accounted for him. Austin Jordan, who's a Texas commit, was really impressive at cornerback. When I stepped on the field, when he first ran on, I said, there's a guy I need to know. And I'd seen him, but that was the first time I saw him since last year. And he's definitely fitting the bill. And also Marquise Hill at defensive end was a guy that stuck. He was wreaking havoc. We're talking about 3 sacks, several tackle for losses, forcing fumbles. He was all over the place. And, we didn't even got to Anthony Hill, who was, basically, and I had an interview with him, and I'll post that later today. He could be a 4 or 5-star running back the way he was running the ball. I mean, just physically dominant performance by the Raiders and Coach Hennigan. Got a pick 6, a block punt. All phases of the game except for 1 extra point. That was the only thing if you want to talk about something bad for Ryan. But I think Longview will be fine. Coach King, and his staff, those guys know football. They know what they got to get to going there together. And they definitely will be back in the playoff mix. We'll be talking about a more mature team here coming back later on in the playoffs.
Oh, most definitely, when it comes to Longview, Coach King and the coaches, they know what to do to get them back on track after a week 1 game. Like I spent 5 years covering Longview when I was living in Longview where I'm from. I watched Coach King and them lose a week 1 game, but by the time the season go on, they go into the 4th round, 3rd round, or the championship. And that'd be okay though. I believe so. I believe, Jordan Allen, the quarterback, number 12, and also Joshua Thompson, number 10, will be way more mature and dominant as the season goes on. And also, another receiver that nobody knows about for Longview, his last name is Wright, number 80, I think.
Number 80. 6'3", 185. Yeah, he's definitely
also like a Jalen Hill.
Right.
Nobody knows about.
Well, we're gonna make something happen about that. He's already on my radar, on the scouts radar for that. I saw him 6'3", 185, make a couple of catches. But again, whatever side that they lined up against Austin Jordan, and Ryan also has another young corner on the other side that's pretty good that I had a chance to see and talk with after the game. But Austin Jordan, whoever came to this side, they wasn't throwing in that direction. That's the reason he's committed to the University of Texas. He's a big time corner prospect, next level type corner. And they got next level players up and down that line. And one thing that I will mention is they controlled it on both sides. About that offensive line was huge, physical. Number 52 was just pancaking bars like he went to IHOP before the game. It was something that you wanted to see, man. And I love physical play, and I look to be talking to some of those guys here in the future. And they got a big game this week. I want to get your thoughts on Denton Geyer. I'll get both of you guys' thoughts on Denton Geyer and Denton Ryan before we move on to both of you guys' players. Juwan, go ahead.
Back to Denton Ryan.
Yeah, Denton Ryan going into Geyer this week.
Well, after seeing the way Denton Ryan played yesterday, I don't think nobody's gonna be able to beat him. Like, I don't know nothing about Denton Geyer yet. I just know like Jace Wilson, who's over there. I know Brody Noble, who's a pretty good fast receiver with great hands. Same, gonna catch the ball whatever the ball's thrown. He like 6'5" receiver. He's pretty big. They're the only 2 guys I know over there right now. But with the way Ryan played, knowing these are both hometown rivals, as right now, I don't think Ryan's going to go down.
Nick, give me your thoughts on Geyer and Ryan coming in this week.
Both teams definitely have some talent. Kind of like Juwan talked about. That Geyer offense, they have, 3 or 4 talented receivers that are really good. The quarterback's good. I got a chance to see them compete in the state 7-on-7 tournament, which they, won basically 3rd place. And they were down a guy too. So they definitely have some talent, offensive, defensively. I think that's a good strength of their team also too, with Vincent Page, playing D-line, the UNT commit. They got some guys on the outside, playmakers and some guys that some prospects, some offers. So it's all, anytime you got a cross-town battle, it's definitely going to be a game, and no matter what the record is, who's on the field. So it'll be interesting to see, both teams, how they'll do this season.
Well, it's definitely going to be interesting because it's like big brother against little brother or little sister or the Hatfields and McCoys. These guys all played together, and like Juwan said, and even you said about Sherman and Dennison playing on the same 7-on-7 team. These guys do it all. They work out together in the summer. They probably even, had some of the same girlfriends at one time. It's just that kind of close matchup. You know what I mean? So, I look forward to the fireworks to being big with this one. But before we get out of here, Nick, we'll start with you. 2 players in the 2021 that you want to let everybody know that you keep an eye
on. My 2 players are 2 guys that had a great first week, but had an excellent spring and summer. We'll start on the offensive side. Dakota Bridges at Hebron High School. No matter what tournament it was, what team he was playing for, he lit it up every week. Nobody could cover him. Nobody still can't cover him, So he's a guy, got a good pedigree. His brother played at OU, got some return capability. He's a guy that you can throw him the bubble pass, the slant route, and he'll take it 80 yards to the house, which is on video. So he's definitely a guy that has some speed, breakaway speed, and a guy to definitely look out for, who's, got some attention, but I think he's definitely going to get some FBS attention and offers too. So he's my offensive guy. Defensively, Juwan Lewis out of Shadow Creek High School in Houston, Texas.
D-Lou.
Alvin, but Houston, Texas. I told you I'm from Houston, but he's a guy, a dual sports star, plays baseball also. But he uses those center field skills in football. Every tournament, which he had an interception this week against North Shore, he's going to make a play and get an interception. Great ball skills, great physical, guy. Had a chance to see him play last year in the playoffs against Katy. Had a lot of tackles that game. So he's a guy that's physical, brings a lot of energy to the field, definitely a leader. And going to make a play, at least 1 or 2 plays each game. So he's a guy that I say that definitely look out on defensive end. It's going to definitely blow up and have a big year.
Well, shout out to D-Lou. That's a great family as well. I had a chance to see his little brother play as well in the spring. He was also on the Third Coast Gridiron podcast last week, and he had a big game last night, as you said, a pick. A great pick where he had to dive for it. And then you mentioned the 2 sport thing. That's another thing that, don't limit yourself, kids. If you're listening to these parents, let them play more than one sport. This particular prospect that we're talking about has possibly got the chance to get drafted as well on the baseball field. We're talking about a guy that can chunk it from the outfield. He's got speed. He's got a lead in his bat. He can do it all. I've seen some of his things on baseball, and he's ranked in PG rankings as well. So, don't limit yourself, through high school. Once you get to college, if you don't have the opportunity to play both at the next level, that's when you make a decision. But play as many sports as you want, because they all work together. That's just my little rant there, recruiting segment, if you want to call it. Don't limit yourself by playing one sport. This particular athlete is on the baseball and football radars of a lot of colleges. We're talking about a guy that's out of Nevada, Colgate, and a couple of more colleges. Ole Miss has been following him very close. So he has the opportunity to do it at both levels, at any level. Like I said, he may get drafted in the baseball realm. But, shout out to D-Lou. That's my guy, down in Shadow Creek. Had a big game against North Shore. And the thing about, you mentioned it, Nick, about D. Lewis, he shows up big in games. In that Katy game, he had punt block for a touchdown, even though they end up losing. And this was, Shadow Creek took a lot of heat, around, people talk about being up in 6A and they couldn't survive, but they did okay. And I think they'll be back this year. Shadow Creek, look out for the Sharks. I talked about that on the Third Coast Gridiron last week. And that's a team to watch down in the Houston area. Juwan, go ahead and give me two guys that you want us to check out here in the 2021 season.
Two guys that I've been looking into, start off with defensive back, DB Gary Robinson with for Den Ryan. I've been big on him since last year, he's very interesting to me. Like he might be a little short than usual, the others think, but he knows how to play defense. He's smart. He knows how to turn around on certain plays to watch the ball coming his way. He knows how to get an interception when needed. He knows how to make them big plays. And I feel like he'll have a breakout season this year, as we saw with a 69-yard pick six he got against Longview on Saturday. Then the other one for Lancaster, it'll be Tyson Brown. We call him Simp, the running back. He also played defense a little bit also. He's an athlete. I feel like people will understand who he is too once the season starts, because he is a threat to be working with. Like he knows how to power his way through the line of scrimmage, through the holes, and how to run you over, get you down, to get extra yardage that you need in a running back at your school. I feel like them two are my most favorite right now, or it's them two right now.
Definitely two guys that you want to put on the radar. Again, you brought up the pick six yesterday. He was dynamic in that, and I think he plays a little bit of slot receiver, at least on the sheet that they gave us. He plays a little offense too, and I think I did see him line up a couple times in the slot. The ball just didn't come to him, but he was definitely dynamic. You can see those punt return skills. He broke a couple of ankles on the way to a big time game changing and even momentum altering play, because Longview was driving and Allen dropped back and he just didn't see it was kind of tipped or whatever. They played the tip drill on defense, and it was Oski and 7 after that. So it just goes to show you that like I said, and that's the reason for the DFW Blueprint, is to get eyes and talk about these guys. We all got different point of views, and we all see similar things and bring things to the table. And the blueprint is being laid for you. We're going to lay it for you every week. And before we get out of here, we'll start with you, Nick. Where are you going to be at this week? What games you got?
On Friday, I'll be at the Mount Pleasant Sherman game. Thursday, I haven't decided which game I'm going to be at Thursday, but I'm definitely going to be at the Sherman Mount Pleasant game this upcoming week.
Well, that's a good one. We need to know a little bit more about Mount Pleasant. Again, it's up in that East Texas corridor where there's talent. You could draw a map in East Texas and go find some top flight talent and some FBS and D1 talent. But again, the blueprint is not just about that. We want to help kids get noticed by any high schools, JUCOs, everything. It's just not about the 4 and 5 star. We look at everybody. Juwan, I know that Lancaster has a big game this week. Where are you going this week besides that?
On Thursday, I had no game yet for Thursday. I might end up going to go check out the Soto freshman squad. So I know a few guys over there I want to look at who's pretty interesting. But Friday I'll be at Lancaster versus Skyline. That should be very interesting. Then Saturday I might try to go to the Kimball versus Carter game.
Two historic powerhouses coming out of DISD. And, I kind of root for guys like that myself. I haven't decided a Thursday game, but I'm in the Fort Worth area. And this year, I'm going to be spotlighting Fort Worth ISD. I think that's an untapped for talent-wise, exposure-wise. Nobody comes to Fort Worth for anything. I live out here, and, I want those kids and those coaches to be able to say, hey, that guy is putting it on for Fort Worth. It'll be called Bringing the Funk, just to let y'all know what it's going to be called, because they're going to bring the funk. I'm going to bring the funk, and I'm going to bring the funk to the exposure to try to get those kids noticed. I'll be working on that. Friday, I'll be calling my first game for Vipe, play-by-play. So I'm working on that. And then also, I told you one yesterday, and I hadn't had a chance to share with Nick, but I just got on with Prep Red Zone Texas as a football scout. So if you need that exposure, I'm getting it to you now. You know what I'm saying? Certified, stamped, and approved now. So, you know, and then also the Scouts Radar, we're going to record that today. So I will be maybe looking at Denton Ryan, Denton Geyer. It also depends on how that shakes out. But, you know, if you pay attention to social media, you'll know where I'll be at. Probably get a Thursday and Saturday game in there for sure. But, you know, I appreciate you guys being on the panel. This panel may change from week to week, but these two guys will definitely be here. If you follow Dem Bos and if you follow Brandid, you know you're going to get that coverage that you need. Before we get out of here, fellas, and I know I said that 3 times already, but that's all right. Nick, give out your social medias where they can see you. And then after that, Juwan, give out yours.
So you can definitely go to brandidsports.com, find a lot of our content on there, whether it's video stuff, whether it's YouTube stuff, or whether it's write-ups. All of it could be there. We also got merch. As you see, we got the new I'm Him hoodies, you know, for the fall. Got those, you know, got some new ski masks, got some blues for the boys in blue. You know, we got the sew hoodies, and then we got some sleeves coming, you know, for some player of the weeks and things like that we're going to be doing. So, you know, we're going to be out there, holler at us, tag us and stuff, at Brandid Sports, and that's BRANDID Sports. So follow me on all platforms, Brandid Sports, and then tap into YouTube too. We just popped off the YouTube channel, working with my boy Shot by Jay Morrison. He's done a great job. So we just dropped some content this weekend on there. So tap in, Brandid Sports on YouTube too.
You can hit me up on Dem Bos. That's WEDEMBOS on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, also on YouTube, Dem Bos Media. I posted my first video of the year on my YouTube yesterday. Week 1 game, Lancaster versus Port Arthur Memorial. It's already going to hit 500 views. So go check that out. You know, first game of the year. And yeah.
Well, definitely, we're going to be checking for both of y'all. And also, this is what we're going to do week to week. DFW Blueprint, we're going to lay it down for you. We're going to give you the goods. We're going to give you everything you need to know here in the DFW sports-wise, recruiting-wise, and we'll give you our thoughts on everything that's going on. We got a lot of topics to get to, but we're going to be here for you each week, man. And we'll give this to you guys as well to post to your accounts. And this will also be on the On Your Mark YouTube channel as well. We'll post it on Twitter, on IG. And shout out to Shots by Mo. He does a hell of a job too, man. I love his content. Follow him closely on IG. You know, and then if it's any guys that in the media that are not here today that you want to shout out, man, go ahead and quickly shout them out because there's a lot of guys out there that do some work.
I want to give a shout out to Shots by Ryan. He does an amazing job. Also, my guy Jeter over there at DeSoto, he does an amazing job. Also, the other guy over there as well, Hernandez, I think. He does a great job. Also, my guy Gio, Shot by Gio. That's my boy. He does an amazing job. Also, so many people, but Shot by Gio. Shot by Mo. That's my guy too. He does an amazing job. And also, you shout out to my guy Brandid, and also you as well on Mark, the Topic Sports. You know, y'all do an amazing job too. Also, Hammer, my guy Hammer. He does an amazing job for the whole DIFD. I'm not DIFD, but Denton Ryan, Denton IFD, and also for other kids around the whole DFW Metroplex.
Well, most definitely. You can check out On Your Mark Show YouTube channel. Where's Hammer at? That's every week, man. And, you know, shout out to my guy Gio. I bumped into him. We worked together on the 707 circuit this past spring, and he does an amazing job. It's a lot of young up-and-coming guys, and that's what this is all about. Shout out to Zombieland. Shout out to my guy Terrence, Kenny Matthews, Friday Night Glory, my guy Adam from GP. And I can't go without saying about my brother from another mother, my Top Texas Prospects my guy Matt Davidson. He's the voice for GP Sports over there. If you want to know anything about Grand Prairie Sports, holler at the mayor. That's what I call him. And Nick, kick a few shout outs before we get out.
Shout out to my boy Zabin Tough. He's finna put out some content on the YouTube page. He does a great job, been killing it, especially on the basketball scene. So East Texas, make sure y'all tap in, my boy, because he out there in Tyler now and gonna be doing some stuff. So definitely tap in with him. Also, my boy KTC Visions. Who else I got? Wilder, you know, everybody, Juwan shouted out. Baller Tribe out of H-Town, and my bros right there. Let me see, who else I know, man? Like you said, there's so many people, man. And if I forget somebody, I just forgot. But those are a couple dudes. My boy Ben Spicer, you know him. He's good people, as I always talk to. Just any and everybody, man. Oh, Natalie, she's one of our people, and my boy CFB Edits. He does some of our edits that we're doing. So tap in, like I say, tap in with us on social media, and we blast everybody else stuff in there. But if you want us to come to some games, or you are a content creator and you're looking for a platform to get your stuff published on, come holler at us, man. We're all about it.
Man, most definitely. Shout out to Natalie. We've been working together behind the scenes a little bit, working on some things for the On Your Mark show. And also shout out to Epic Sports Apparel. That is the sponsor of the On Your Mark show, or the On Your Mark show YouTube channel, and definitely will be a sponsor within the DFW Blueprint. Shout out to my guy over there at Epic Sports Apparel. They do a bang up job, and they also come up with some of the On Your Mark apparel that's on its way as well. So we'll be talking about that in the future, man. For myself, Nick Dubose, Mark Henry, Juwan Davis, we're going to sign out. The blueprint has been laid. Watch us next week on the DFW Blueprint.